Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk to you today was about some of the alleged Illuminati in Hollywood. Where, I mean, are you one of these guys that believes there is Illuminati in Hollywood?
If there is, I mean, listen, I've checked my junk mail and bulk mails, and I've gotten offers from Illuminati that go straight to my junk mail. But no, I believe there is a power structure. I also believe that like Illuminati is like such a thing as just recommending your friends for work.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. I'm Dax Holt. Over there's Adam Glyn. And we have a very special friend back with us today, Ryan Bailey, host of the podcast So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey, one of our good friends. That I realized the other day that I'm like, holy shit, we haven't had Ryan on in way too long. So welcome back, Ryan.
I'm glad to be back. And also in podcasting, it could like, I think time moves so fast that I thought like, oh, I talked to you guys like a month ago, and it turns out it's over a year. But that's just how podcasting is, It's like time means nothing.
I forget with you, Ryan, because you always kind of like jump on my social media, my algorithm.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of see like, oh, look what Ryan's doing. Oh, look what Ryan's doing. You're doing some impressive things. Obviously your podcast so good, it's so bad it's good. And then obviously you with Betches and you on Sirius XM. So like you're just always in my ear a little bit. So I kind of don't forget about you, but I feel like I'm always around you.
Well, that's weird, Adam, because I noticed you don't like any of my Instagram posts, so that's weird.
Honestly, you want to know the truth? People you're not the first person to say it, but I have the large iPhone, so I usually am holding one thing in my other hand, and my hand's not big enough to like use my thumb. Do you know? I know it sounds weird.
Yeah, well, that's a good.
But Adam. I can even show you how my thumb fits. It's not in that, but no, you're doing.
I don't know how you do your job, Adam, at times, because I had to do a red carpet where I had to film the interviews myself, and I had like the film camera in one hand and like a microphone in the other, and I. Like half the time I was getting good interviews, and then I went back to look at the footage, and I have like, Jax's belly, talking to Jax on a red carpet. I was like, I don't know how you do. Like, there's nothing that prepares you to like do these kind of in-person, like upfront experiences.
It's funny because people always ask me when I'm done the interview, did you have the camera running? Because if this is a visual thing, so if you're listening to this, you might not understand. But if you're watching on Red Crawl Universe or YouTube, you might see this. My philosophy or my strategy when I do it is I look in the eyes, but I hold my camera next to my head, and I sort of know where you're going. So I sort of have like an idea of like you're sort of in the angle. Now it's not the cleanest shot. I'm not reading off a cell phone. That's why my question's like, why'd you ask this question? Why? I'm like, because I'm not reading off a teleprompter like Jimmy Fallon. Like these questions are just sort of like I'm like sweating, or I'm like I just ran a quarter mile at full speed to get to this person. So I can't, they're not sitting on the couch next to me. So, be prepared for some shitty questions. But
see that I geek out about like the journey to get those interviews, like the stories you've told in the past about like, running somewhere to get a celebrity, to get like the first quote about something. To me, that's almost more exciting than the interview itself.
You know what's interesting about that, Ryan? My Sunday nights are very unique. Now, Sunday nights, usually, probably 90% of the time, I'm not running around trying to chase someone. But Sunday nights, I'm usually trying to call my contacts and figure out who's in town this week, maybe what they're doing, what's going on, what's your plan, can you let me know, and kind of like sending all my goons out there, my tipsters out there to let me know like what's happening. Like this week is like sort of a dead week, so people are like reaching out to me now, like who are you working on, who are you after this week, or like where are you gonna be hanging out this week? And honestly, this week is like there's no one I'm excited to really talk to.
Well, it's kind of a different week than other weeks. I think we have a lot of stuff coming up this week, so who knows? But you had the New York Marathon, you had SNL over the weekend, you had all of these. I just can't imagine keeping up with New York. LA's bad enough, but New York, it just seems like brutal. So many weird things like pop up at the last minute, I'm sure.
So let me ask you this, Ryan. You're a TV guy. You watch a lot of TV. Let's start with you just mentioned Saturday Night Live. Are you still watching Saturday Night Live? Does the show still matter? Are you still interested in it? Or what do you think about the host? What's your overall views of SNL?
So SNL, I still watch every week, but it's changed how I watch it. Like I watch it like my dad, used to have me watch it with him when I was a kid. So like that kind of set up a habit for me. And over the last, I would say 7 or 8 years, I just don't love it. Like I'll fast forward a lot. I don't find a lot of it funny. Hopefully a younger audience does. But I will say this week's episode, and I'm even putting the politics of this week's episode aside with like Kamala being on there. I thought it was a fantastic episode. It kind of shocked me and shows me like, oh, this show can be really funny when it wants to. And I attribute that to John Mulaney. I think, obviously he was a writer on SNL for all those years, and he really brought something to it where I was like, oh my God, this is actually, to me, legitimately weird and funny, which is where I think comedy should lie. And I thought Chappell Roan, for as much hype as she's gotten in the last year, you really see why she's gotten that hype. She commanded that stage for those two performances. And so it kind of got you excited. But the funny thing is, then next week will probably be back and it'll just be back to crap. And I think Bill Burr actually is the host next week. And I love Bill Burr. And they usually have a comedian the week after election because they had Dave Chappelle in 2016. 2020, maybe they had Chappelle again, but they're having Bill Burr next week. So that'll be interesting because he has the duty of like summing up wherever the nation is politically.
Yeah, I think it's a good week for Bill Burr to kind of come on. And are you a what's her name? Chappell Roan. I always want to say Chappelle because the way, but are you a fan of her? Or are you grossed out?
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of her. I mean, fans. Well, like I liked her album before she got big because somebody had passed it on to me, and I was like, "Oh, this is a really good pop album." And then I remember her playing Coachella in last April, and the first weekend the tent was like kind of full but not full, and the second weekend the tent was overflowing, and then that set up a summer of like insanity where the crowds grew and grew. I forgot what New York festival it was where it was like the biggest attendance for anybody, and then you had like Austin City Limits and all, and her crowd kept growing. And people are really taken with her in such a way. But I will say it's interesting to have somebody thrust into that sort of fame. And you can obviously tell she's not used to it. And she's somebody that seems chronically online even before she became famous. So all of a sudden she needs to express herself and what she feels like the injustices are. And that never really sits well with a lot of people that are getting to know you. Like, oh, you're complaining already. Like, it's completely understandable what she's saying to me, but it comes off so weird. So I think there's like
it comes off as like ungrateful or something because you just got given all this fame, which is so hard to get in this industry. Like one in a million people make it and are successful and famous and have fans to that extent.
Yeah.
And so when you're already complaining about it, you're like, oh God, shut up. But I agree with you. I know the things that she's saying could be super annoying, but there's a part of it that you're like, this is the bad side of being famous. You gotta almost have to put up with it or learn to live with it a little bit because you're gonna have people fawning all over you. All the money and the fame comes with a couple creepos that want to take pictures with you. Sorry.
I mean, more than a couple, but I mean, we were talking beforehand, but it's like she's either going to go the Lady Gaga route where it's like stepping fully into fame and kind of trying to do what you want with it, or the Fiona Apple route of like, releasing here and there, not doing live shows. And it seems like she loves to do live shows, but we've seen the price of fame. I mean, Britney Spears, Liam Payne, we've seen all of these people be affected by massive celebrity and how that must just truly mess with your head. So it'll be interesting. I mean, this is her first major album, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think she still wants to be in complete control of everything, and I think it's almost impossible when you get to that level so quickly.
Yeah. All right. Let's read one review real fast before we get into the rest of the podcast. Or we will be doing a disservice to our audience here. All right. This one is a 5-star review from GKAZ 1289. Every other username must have been taken already. All right, definitely a top celeb news podcast. This is a review from Kyra L. This is definitely a top celeb news podcast for me. I have been listening since your first guest appearance on Dumois, and I enjoyed it each week, twice a week. I think it drew me in how experienced you guys are in the industry with personal celeb stories to throw in from time to time. The weekly rundown at the end of the week means it's Friday and always puts me in a good mood. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Kyra. Appreciate it. All right.
Wow, Kyra, way to go. Kyra, please leave me a review. Jeez. That's amazing.
That was a, long-time listener, long-time friend. I'm just kidding. I don't know her, but I appreciate you taking the time, Kyra. All right. I want to jump in to, we need to get some of the big updates done. Liam Payne, obviously, we keep every couple episodes, we're talking about what's going on with him and this whole investigation. Well, it seems like his body is being flown back to the UK this week. We are recording this on Monday. And so it could happen in the next 36 hours. Some reports are saying that they're going to release his body. It'll be flown back to the UK. And then I know the Sun newspaper had reported that his funeral will take place at the St. Paul's Cathedral, where he grew up. So, this investigation's still going strong. I know there's a lot of questions around his death that they're still trying to figure out. A lot of conspiracy theories that we brought up in a couple different episodes with people believing that he was pushed. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on this whole situation? I mean, there's people that have looked into what he was wearing that day, feeling like there's no way he would have just flown over the balcony if he passed out. That had to be a push. Have you dove into this at all?
Yeah, well, a little bit, but the questions I have that you guys can answer is that I'm so skeptical now of celebrity news in terms of the amount of drugs that were in his system. Is that a confirmed thing, or is that just kind of this is what we think, this is what we heard? So it's really hard to go to a place, because I'll go to the TMZs, the Daily Mails, all of these kind of outlets, and you see so many kind of wrong pieces of information that I don't know who to trust in terms of. But if the amount of drugs were in his system that was being reported, I could really see literally thinking that you could fly, literally not being able to be held down, all of these things. I really don't know, but it is one of those mysteries, and pop culture loves a mystery. So I do hope that there is somebody that kind of sets the record straight of what this man's final moments were. And, obviously it seems like hotel people were involved in this. I know they were questioning those people. And I'm just really curious. I mean, but overall, it's just so insanely sad. And you really feel, because this is a lot of people's first loves, their first pop culture crush, and your heart breaks for those fans. But obviously this man has been struggling for a minute, and it'll be really interesting to see what comes from this, and also, will One Direction be at that funeral?
I wonder how much truth we will get out of authorities down there, or out of the hotel down there. I just feel like it's a lot easier to cover things up in other countries. You know what I'm saying? It's not. So I think if he was in the UK when he died, I think if he was in the US when he died, I think there's more structure to the governments, and so you might get more of the details out. I think it's going to be a little bit harder, and if they don't want it to come out, it could easily be pushed under the rug. I mean, even the conflicting stories with the security footage. Oh, there was no CCTV footage. The cameras happened to shut off an hour before he died, and then a journalist saying, no, there was, and I watched it, and he fell unconscious and fell off. I mean, there's so many conflicting reports. I don't know if we'll ever truly get to the bottom of it. But I think finally letting him have that funeral, I think letting his family say goodbye, letting the fans say goodbye, that's the necessary closure I think people need at this point.
Yeah, Ryan,
Well, and
you
also,
actually I was gonna say, you made a good point though. Something I didn't think about. You always see when it comes to the tox report saying, "Oh, they had this in their system." But I guess the question for me is, how much exactly is in their system? I mean, you might have something that's stuck in your liver or your intestines from years ago that just you never got pushed through your system. So, I mean, it's an interesting point saying, all right, we found heroin in their system, but how much exactly was in there where it could be the point of an overdose, or it could have been a hallucination? It's something that we don't know. And it's a very unique perspective on it.
Wait,
I was watching a lot of.
He didn't have heroin in his system, correct?
No, but I'm just saying in general.
That was just you giving me an example. Just for people he didn't have heroin in his system.
No.
That was
a lot of Diet Coke in his system.
Pink cocaine, whatever it was.
No,
yeah.
Well, I mean, there was I think it was a pink cocaine, and I was watching a lot of TikTok videos of the moments before, of down in the lobby by the elevator, and him being overly nice to fans, and that's the thing that really kind of spooks you, of man, this dude was living, he was popping around. around, taking pictures with fans. And then 15 minutes later, this happens. And I'm really curious too, just in terms of following pop culture all these years, is really now what the Liam Payne estate does, because, you know, like you have the Michael Jackson estate, the Prince estate, and I'm not putting them on the musical level of that, but through the years, they've kind of suppressed stories that will highlight the bad aspects of that story, and, you know, wanting to put their artists in the best light. So I'm really
no one
curious.
wants a tarnished reputation. I mean, at
No,
the end of the day,
of
these
course.
people can't even defend themselves, so they have to
Yeah.
stand up for them.
So I'm curious what, you know, his long lasting, like what the story will be for Liam, and hopefully it'll be a really positive one, and kind of staying away from the negativity of those last moments.
Or they lean into, because he's struggled obviously with mental health in the past and suicidal thoughts, or the family leans into that and starts up a place for people to go seek treatment, something like that.
Exactly.
That's a good
Yeah.
way
I mean,
to
like,
even...
Matthew Perry, I think they're doing that with his estate right now as well. But I don't know. I will say the one thing I'm getting, the trend that I really hate, and we'll blame this on Diddy, is that like he died and then it's like he's connected with Diddy. Liam's connected with Diddy. And I'm like, come on, you guys. Like, I'm so tired of the everything's a conspiracy. Like, some people have issues, some people have problems, some people do drugs and mental health issues. Not everything is connected with Diddy.
No,
but everything is connected with Diddy, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Everything is totally connected. I'm just kidding.
Conspiracy is just a fun word in Hollywood. I'm sorry. It's just, I think it's part of the showbiz. I think the industry loves people talking about conspiracies because it brings eyes to the industry at the end of the day. I mean, one of the things I want to talk to you today was about some of the alleged Illuminati in Hollywood, where, I mean, are you one of these guys that believes there is Illuminati in Hollywood?
If there is, I mean, listen, I've checked my junk mail and bulk mails, and I've gotten offers from Illuminati that go straight to my junk mail. But no, I believe there is a power structure. I also believe that like Illuminati is like such a thing as just recommending your friends for work, or I mean, obviously people do. We have casting couches, we have things like this. Do I believe there is an organization that pushes people to the forefront? I don't know. Like I believe people are helped. I believe there are industry plants, but like, as for an organization that makes sure these things happen, if you really go down that path, so many things would have to line up to be able to really make that Illuminati. Listen, I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys know. I mean, is there an Illuminati?
I think you're on the right track, which is, I think it's a group of celebrities that have throughout the years crossed paths with each other. They have amplified each other's careers by, having those connections. You've got one of the couple top names all run in the same circle. You got Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kanye, Rihanna, like Kim, like they're all connected through their relationships. And so as a friendship group, or as a professionals that know each other, yes, that you can almost give each other the blessing, and that blessing makes their career blow up. So
yeah,
I think,
but also it takes away that kind of like a celebrity getting to where they are. It almost takes away their autonomy of like, yo, I worked this hard to get here. Like I was talking about Kim Kardashian the other night, and just thinking about her past of like, dating Your Majesty from the Jackson family, and then, being Paris Hilton's closet organizer, and then her hooking her up with Nick Lachey. And then those were paparazzi photos back in the day. And then like, Kim was kind of at these little places, and then the Ray J of it all, and to see where she's grown, each one of those things is a step that helped her get to the potential next level, to where now she has her own Ryan Murphy TV show. Like, was that the Illuminati, or was that Kim making kind of calculated life moves because she knew where she wanted to get in the end?
Yeah, she hustled her way through Hollywood. You see that even with influencers now, these social media stars, they need to collab. Hey, let's collab. Even podcasters, that's what we do. We collab together so we can kind of win each other's audiences. We kind of grow, we'll try to intertwine with each other's audiences so we can kind of grow together. So are
you saying that we're in the Apple Podcast Illuminati, guys?
Yeah.
The three of us?
Wait. No. I will, guys, to everybody listening, Hollywood Raw talked to me beforehand, and they offered me a spot in the podcast Illuminati. I said I needed to think about it for a day, but I'm leaning towards it.
You're in.
Leaning towards it.
Yeah, you want
love it.
He wanted to see what our health insurance options are. So first, so,
yeah. By the way, the Illuminati has really crappy health insurance. I just want to put that out there right now. Yeah.
yeah, but so you believe in Hollywood plans. I think you find, and it's even more now than ever is these talent agents and managers. These are not, majority of them now are not older people. They're these young kids now that are hungry, but they're also, and I'll say it, they're entitled kids. They saw Entourage and they all want to be Jeremy Piven, and they think that's how the world works, and they all, they make their whole business on followers rather than actual performance. You could buy followers. Let's be real. That's a lot of people do. So I think they do. I think they campaign together to push celebrities. I think that with Bobby Altroff, whatever. Is that her last name?
Oh, Bobby Altoff. Yeah.
Altoff. I think she's, first of all, this is not taking away anything against her. I do think she's talented. But I do think she's, they're pushing her. I feel like people feel like there's
the Hawk Tua.
They're pushing her. They're definitely pushing her to make money. But I'll be honest with you. I think Bobby has more longevity than Hawk Tua girl. I think Hawk Tua girl, even though she's doing really well, she's doing better than I thought she would do. I think it just, there's a campaign behind them. And I think people work together and they try to, everyone fills a position like, hey, you're going to find marketing, you're going to find personal appearances. You're going to find marketing opportunities. You're going to find scheduling things. So like people kind of team together and able to make things happen. So hard to say Hollywood plans, but they're campaigns, just like in politics.
Yeah.
And that's probably like Hollywood's politics.
By the way, if there's any of those young, hungry Jeremy Pivens listening right now, come work with us. Come work with me. Like, come on. Like, I mean, but the thing is, like, to your point of people buying followers and collabing and stuff, I just have never looked at this like that. So I don't, it's like, I've never bought followers. I've never, like, I was talking about this yesterday. I was like, I've never even going, I want to hit like this many followers by this part of the year. Like I kind of just put out the stuff that I want to put out and talk about the stuff I want to, and I hope for the best. And by the way, that's a really crappy strategy. So it is interesting to see all of these other people. That kind of stuff does work. But then people like us are kind of on the outside going, this is because we have the benefit of like decades watching these things. So it's kind of funny and shocking to us. And you're like, these people aren't even ready yet. But through the course of doing all of this, they eventually get camera ready, but they've just been in the industry for 2 years at that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, let me hit up a Diddy story real fast before we move on, just because I want to get this going since everyone's asking me. I'm getting hit up on all these questions. Like, keep giving me Diddy updates. Everyone's fascinated with this whole story. But the latest thing is that a judge, or the Diddy's team, is asking a judge for a gag order. And this is basically, they've asked a judge to restrict statements made by potential witnesses and their lawyers outside of court, citing that grand jury witnesses in particular who keep speaking to the press. So the music producers team has filed documents. They did this on Sunday. I didn't even know you could file documents on a Sunday, asking the judge to expedite the process of responding to Diddy's motion for a gag order because one witness, a man named Courtney Burgess, has given multiple interviews over the last couple days. I saw him on TMZ. I've seen him on Fox. I've seen him kind of all over the place. I mean, he was literally standing outside the courthouse with his lawyer, and they were just talking to cameras and basically saying that he was called to testify because he has seen salacious videos of Diddy and his celebrity friends. And so he's like, all right, well, let me talk about it. Well, he's made these types of comments to different outlets, and Diddy's team is now saying that they're defamatory, they're untrue, but more importantly, that it is going to affect a trial. And that is what their issue is. There's like, tell them to stop talking because you're going to influence any potential jurors, the outcome of this trial. So we need you to stop talking. To me, the guy can probably do whatever he wants. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I hate to say, I'm over the Diddy news. I'm over the people who have hung out at Diddy's parties over the years. I'm over all this because it feels like they just kind of repeat themselves. What I'm ready for, and I know we still have months away, it's just the trial. I'm ready for that. Obviously, in fact, someone in our private Facebook group off the record mentioned that this case won't be televised because it's and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a national case. It's a
federal case.
A federal case. So it can't be televised.
No, but we will get to hear all of it, though. I'm sure it'll probably be, one of those ones where we see all the courtroom sketches and you get to see, Diddy drawn, but like there's people in the courtrooms that are frantically writing down notes and then sending it to their outlets to publish as fast as they can. I mean, we'll still get all of the news. It's not going to be like Johnny and Amber where we get to visually watch it, but I'm sure we will get all the details from it.
Well, I mean, I think people are just scrapping for any kind of little piece of information that they can get. And there's like this rumor of other celebrities involved in these freak offs in the videos. And I think that those little pieces of titillating, like, gossip of like who else is involved, because even to your point, that guy on the courtroom steps, he brought up other celebrities, so that really seems to be what people are latching on to of like, do we have a Justin Bieber? Do we have an Usher? Do we have all of these other celebrities that is Jay? Like I've seen the worst Photoshops of Diddy freak off parties with J-Lo and Jay-Z and Beyonce, and people are like, look at this. I'm like, you can't even tell that this is the worst Photoshop ever. So I think those kind of details people are like kind of really looking for. The things that I'm not hearing of like are what's, behind bars, what's his life like right now? Like, what's he eating? Is he, like what's his day-to-day schedule? Is there any preferential treatment? Those are the kind of details that I'm curious about of what his mental state is behind bars, because I know they had him on like suicide watch for that first couple of days. Those are what I'm curious about, and I know they're pushing for a speedy trial to get this going, but also to move him to a better facility.
Well, there actually was a story. I guess his birthday is coming up, or it just happened.
It just happened.
It just happened. So his breakfast the day of his birthday was biscuits and gravy, oven browned potatoes, bread and oatmeal. But then obviously, his lunch also is pizza, Italian pasta, salad, and green beans. And his dinner is going to be chicken or tofu fried rice with black beans and carrots. And he has to have dinner at 4 p.m.
So gross.
Wait, no. You guys say that sounds gross. That's better than how I'm eating. Are you?
Yeah,
that sounds so gross.
You lost me at the tofu and black beans.
I like. Oh, sorry that it's healthy. Sorry that they're looking out for him.
There's no way that's healthy, bro.
Do you guys know any corrections officers by any chance? Do you know? Are you friends?
No, I do. I know some lawyers, and I know some lawyers that worked in that whole area and knew the facility that he was going to.
I don't know anybody who works at that. Actually, probably do know somebody who works in that facility, but I know a bunch of corrections officers because look at me. I look like I know.
That's your Illuminati circle.
That's my Illuminati circles, plumbers, electricians. And
by the way, if Illuminati exists, where were they on Diddy? They like a massive failure on the Illuminati's part if Diddy was.
They turned their back. They're hiding right now. But from what corrections officers have told me, the prison food, there's some dishes that are not that bad. They're but I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you mess up pizza? You can't mess up pizza. I'm sure that
you can. No. You can mess up. I had a pizza as hard as a brick the other day. You can mess up pizza.
Ryan, I want to get back to you. So what TV shows are you binge watching? I know you watch a lot of TV. Is there some shows that you're obsessed with, some shows that you're not watching that you can't get into? What do you watch?
Well, I have to do all the Bravo shows. So that goes Salt Lake City, Potomac, Orange County, Below Deck Sailing Yacht. There's so many Bravo shows that have been released all of a sudden. So you have to keep up with all of those. And then I do The Only Murders in the Building. I do all of the documentaries. There was a great This Is the Zodiac Speaking 3-part docuseries on Netflix that came out this weekend. Breath of Fire, which is a great docuseries on HBO Max about this Kundalini yoga cult that I thought was really good. I'm pulling up my list right now because there's just so much. Anatomy of Lies.
To watch all this stuff. It's amazing that you are on top of all of this. It's crazy.
It's really barely sustainable, but I will put it on at any opportunity I can. And I was telling Adam that I now on the apps, they'll give you the chance to watch it at different speeds. So I'll kick it up to 1.5, or if I'm really in a rush, 2.0. I'm watching House of Villains on E. I'm watching Survivor. I'm watching The Golden Bachelorette. There's just legitimately too much. And this really, if I could have tell myself as a kid that you would do this for a job one day, I would be like, oh my God, you made it. The Illuminati found you and gave you your dream job. But it gets to be too much. Like there is so much good television that I like to watch. So sometimes the enjoyment factor is starting to seep away. And then, we've got so many shows on Bravo coming up, like Southern Charms coming up, Married to Medicine, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So Bravo all of a sudden has like just a huge amount of programming where over the summer they were kind of a little more quiet.
Let me ask you this, Ryan. There's a lot of rumors, stories, fans out there saying that the New Jersey Housewives franchise is done, that the show just kind of it's reached a point where it's like it's getting to that weird point where does the show go from here? What would you do to fix that franchise?
Well, I mean, you have to think about the overall health of the franchise, right? And like, I will say, like, remember, no matter what we think of as like fans or our enjoyment level, this show still makes money. It still gets really decent ratings compared to other Bravo shows. So even if we find it stale and boring, they're still able to sell advertising very easily. We still tune in, but you have to think about 5 years down the road. Now, like two T's in the pod, Tamra Judge and Teddy Mellencamp's podcast, they did a live taping on Friday, a live show, and they asked the audience, who do you want to see back, Teresa or Melissa Gorga? And overwhelmingly, the audience was like Melissa, which is like kind of a really weird big thing. Teresa's on this season of House of Villains. And so I do think they have, like, Teresa to me is Jersey. Like, she is such a star. But I think you either have to give her a spinoff with her family, or you have to find a way. And this is why these shows, like, they lose kind of the real and reality, because at this point, Melissa and Teresa just have made it very clear they don't want anything to do with each other. So it would be disingenuous. And you feel that broken relationship, and it's not fun anymore. It's like a sequel to a sequel to a sequel. So I do get frustrated watching Jersey, and any new cast member, it just, you kind of zone out on because you're so focused on what came before. But like, we've seen it with the Roan reboot on Real Housewives of New York. It's not exactly catching fire, and people compare it so much to the old days of like the Sonia and the Ramona. And you're never going to get back to the old days. The best you can hope for is just to cast a new group of people that actually have a genuine relationship and friendship. They're not cast. They're not meeting each other for the first time. And you got to give it 2 seasons. So by the time a Scandival level event pops off, these people really know each other, and we can sense that there's skin in the game and that there's real hurt and real passion. And I think the audiences are so sophisticated now. We know when, like, you get goosebumps when you're watching something real.
So if you only had time to watch one Housewives show, which one would you choose then? And which one would you just say, get rid of that one completely?
Oh, that's really hard. And I don't want to, I'm sorry to all of the Bravo shows listening right now, but I would, if I'm going with the 4 shows, Potomac, Salt Lake, Orange County, and New York that's on right now, Roni's the one that's kept my interest the least. The one that's, and this is, I think a lot of people would choose OC to keep, but for me, it's Salt Lake. Salt Lake is so bizarre. It's like a fever dream. I always think it's like a cross between a David Lynch film and a John Waters film. Like, it is so hysterically funny to me. And that just that scratches my funny bone. But to a lot of people, OC they would choose because it's a real darkness. And there's like, the Shannon Bedore event where she ran into a house, the John Jansen being with the new lady Alexis Bellino from like a previous season. There's so much really good stuff in there. But
Vicky,
the Tamara,
it's just crazy.
But the Salt Lake for me, I laughed start to finish when I watched Salt Lake. It's so bizarre. And I love it. It's not the highest rated show on Bravo. For me personally, that's the one I look forward to the most every week.
How funny.
And by the way, what a weird conversation. Can you imagine? I'm a grown man. We're having this. You guys are grown man. We're all wearing cool baseball hats. And I'm sitting here going, Salt Lake is the show that really flips my lid.
And you know what? I wore this one just for you today because it's a Kyle Cook hat. And I got it at BravoCon.
I saw Kyle the other day at like an Us Weekly event, and he was DJing the event. And I was like, all reality shows, it's just a pipeline to be a DJ one day. That's a reality star to DJ pipeline.
Well, Paris Hilton did it the best, so I don't blame anyone who wants to go down that track.
Right?
Well, Ryan, reality shows have really taken over. They're the new soap operas. Our parents kind of grew up on soap operas, and then reality shows came in and kind of wiped away soap operas. It's hard to even find one if they still even do exist. I mean, they do, very, very small, not to the capacity they once did. But sitcoms, are sitcoms dead in your opinion?
Well, I mean, because we had, I grew up on the multicam sitcom, which was like, not to use like Cosby Show, but Roseanne, all of these other ones where, had 3 cameras, you had a laugh track. So that's what I was raised on. And then single cam comedy kind of took hold. And, a great example of that is obviously The Office, Parks and Rec, and that single cam. And it would be, not like the punchline was, the punchline was the thing you laugh at. In single cam, it's always the uncomfortableness after somebody says something awkward and you get the reaction shot. That's what single cams are, which have kind of really come to the front. But, unfortunately, it's just like movies. Network TV is really going, and has been going downhill. So like you'll have your Abbott Elementaries, which is a fantastic sitcom, but you'll have a lot of other stuff that is just not what it once was. And our tastes are so varied and we have so many things to choose from that in a way it's killing the sitcom. But you could say the same thing for movie theaters as well. So there are still really funny things out there. It's just that it's so spread out. And it's really word of mouth. People aren't sitting down like on a Thursday night lineup to watch Friends, Seinfeld, Veronica's Closet. I mean, like you would watch anything on Thursday nights on NBC. And now we don't really have a lot of that anymore. So I don't think reality shows are necessarily killing the sitcom. I just think the amount of options we have on top of everybody's just watching TikTok on their phone anyways. Like my niece and nephew, 16 years old, they don't watch TV. I mean, they'll binge watch shows on Netflix. Like they'll binge watch something. Like my niece got into like the show Chuck. Remember that show with Zach Levy from NBC? All of a sudden she started binging that from out of nowhere and got really into Chuck. And I was like, how did that come up? So it's really hard to predict trends anymore. And that's why there's like so little I mean, for every Chappell Roan that everybody seems to be like, I really like her music. I just always wonder about the things that we don't know about, the things that we're going to discover years from now that have been out there the whole time.
I also think that like the sitcom, when I think of sitcom, I think of big studio audiences. And I think it's just expensive to make these days. Like you don't have the audience that you once had to bring in a bunch of money to then have the studio audience. And I think it's a lot cheaper to like cut out the big studios, do like little film sets. And that's one of the big reasons that it also died. But TV in general, like you said, it's just dying off. Like even news, nightly news, the viewership of nightly news has died off over the years because people consume news differently. I check out, like, it's going to sound silly, but I see my news on Instagram, and it's normally because ABC or CNN or Fox or whoever, they're publishing the news, but it's just in little clippets on my phone. And that's how I like it. I don't want to sit down and watch a half-hour show anymore. I want to just get my news in bites.
But same with like late night TV. Like remember the late night wars of the 90s and the early aughts with Jay Leno and Letterman, and then the switch over to like Conan and Jimmy Fallon. I mean, Jimmy Fallon, they went from this year from 5 nights a week to 4 nights a week they're going to, which is a huge sign of like what's to come, because we were raised on these kind of traditions of like there's always going to be like these 3 late night hosts. And now people really aren't even tuning into that because they're getting their comedy on other platforms. They're getting their little sound bites, and that's all they need. So these traditions that we grew up with, like, sitcoms used to have 26 episode order seasons. Like Seinfeld would have like a 26 episode season. Now, with like a lot of like HBO shows or something like that, you'll get a 12 episode season or a 9 episode season, and then they'll take a year and a half off. So their release schedules are so skewed as well. Like we don't, like all of these traditions we grew up with, it's just everything is kind of changing. And I'm curious to see where it goes.
You're watching the Menendez brothers stuff, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just finished it, Adam. I didn't get to tell you, I just finished it this weekend.
And what you think so far? You're watching it, now that you watched the entire thing, what are your thoughts?
It was funny because the whole thing, I felt like really led up to them being like, having this sexual assault, this horrible childhood that was really like gave them a reason to kill their parents. And then the last episode, it made them look like psychopaths. And I was like, wait a second, what am I supposed to believe here? Like, what, you just switched the whole thing on me. So I ended up being like, I don't know anymore, but I'm seeing all this news come out about them potentially getting resentenced and getting out. And so what I'm watching now is I started the actual documentary, their documentary on Netflix, where it's them talking from prison and hearing their voices. Because I'm like, now I need another perspective. But again, it really does make you think that if they truly did go through all that sexual abuse when they were kids, I don't think that necessarily, yes, you deserve, freedom. You killed your parents, but they have served 30 years, 35 years.
35, yeah.
So, there is a chance that, okay, you were tortured as a child, maybe given some grace. I don't know. It's a tough topic.
Well, do we have to? How much credit do we give Kim Kardashian when it comes to these guys potentially getting out of jail?
No, I give it to Ryan Murphy.
Well, Ryan Murphy on top. Ryan Murphy on top of Kim Kardashian, and I want to point out that Kim Kardashian's new FX show is produced and partially written by Ryan Murphy. The connections are this is the real Illuminati right here, you guys. Is that Ryan Murphy made this show? The Menendez brothers came out against the show, but then Kim Kardashian went and visited a group of prisoners, including the Menendez brothers, and one of the actors went with her that I think played Eric Menendez, and made this impassioned post, did a TMZ article, all of these things. All of this, though, led to George Gascon, the district attorney, to say, hey, we got new information. This is in the public eye. We are looking at resentencing. And I hate to bring up the election, but George Gascon is on the ballot right now, and he's trailing behind, his competitor in this election. So how wild is this, the thing about that? They're up for resentencing, and George Gascon loses, and the new DA, if a new DA is opposed, says, no, screw it. No, they're staying in there. Imagine that, getting this close, but they've also kicked it up to Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has made a comment on it, saying that we are looking into it. So Gavin Newsom could also just pardon. He could just pardon, the George Gascon resentencing might not even matter. And Newsom would just be like, you know what? They've served their time. They could be out by Thanksgiving. And the thing I was talking about on my show that I'm curious about, you guys, how crazy is it to think that, and don't say this is too crazy, because think about it. Could they present at the Emmys next year?
Oh, wow.
But then do people stand up and clap or not? Because
exactly.
There's a weird level of mixture there where
they still did the crime. They did the crime, regardless of what you say.
A brutal crime. But then 35 years later, people are like, yeah, good job. That's weird. And I think it's same for Gypsy Rose. It's a little weird how we have championed her in the community. Again, if she was definitely abused by her mother, and so you have to give that grace there. But it is weird how we glorify these people now that time has passed.
Yeah, it's
a weird time.
And I think these guys will get Emmys. By the way, they did such a fantastic acting job in this show. They have to give them some awards. Really great acting.
Yeah. No, the guys who I'd never seen them before, but they did a phenomenal job. One of the guys who said that he actually, which is sort of weird, that he wrote to one of the Menendez brothers years before he played the role, or maybe years, which...
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I saw him I think he said on Watch What Happens, or that he wrote to one of the Menendez brothers saying that he deserved to be free and stuff like that, which I thought was a little I don't know, a little weird.
Do you believe those little details, or is that a little bit of a lie to add to the mythology of somebody's, performance or career? Isn't it wild that years ago I wrote that's so weird that if that is true, that he wrote to, but I don't know. Anyways,
and you can't ever prove it because you're like, oh, it must have got lost in the mail, but I wrote him. Come on.
Anna Delvey on Dancing with the Stars. You had Anna Delvey on Dancing with the Stars, but it almost is that testing the waters for bigger criminals? Would Gypsy Rose have been on this season of Dancing with the Stars if she wasn't pregnant? Do kind of wonder if they're testing boundaries, because pop culture and true crime are so now interlinked in more than it ever has been before. The Menendez brothers still at the top of the Netflix charts. They're hot, right? They brought back Milli Vanilli, for the love of God, because of the Menendez brothers.
By the way, how unlikable was Anna Delvey? Wow, she is so unlikable as a human being when you hear her talk, and I don't know, she just is not someone that I find fun to listen to.
Who's having a really great resurgence right now, and I don't know if it's just because I'm in the New York market for you guys, but Nicole Scherzinger, she's on Broadway right now, and she's doing
Sunset Boulevard.
And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but people are talking about this play. They're talking about how great she is. She's getting standing ovations in the middle of the show. Do you think she's the most underrated celebrity out there as far as like performer, as talented person? Because she's one of those people, Pussycat Dolls, but let's be real, nobody cared about the Pussycat Dolls. We knew
How
she
dare
was
you,
great.
Adam? How dare you?
You
You
lost
disgust
yourself, bro.
this
No,
kind of New
nobody
York
cared
attitude
about
that
him.
you have.
What? Because it was Big Out West. I mean, I don't know
Dude,
who
Pussycat
cared about
Dolls.
My
Pussycat
buttons,
Dolls.
baby. I love the Pussycat Dolls. What do you?
2 songs, 1 song, if that. I like
don't
I was more of a
you?
dream.
Deep catalog.
Come
Deep
on.
catalog.
I was more of a Dream guy. Remember Dream?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
you were more of a...
You're
Yeah.
Dream over Pussycat Dolls.
Dream
Get
was
out.
great. They had that
Wow,
blonde
you
girl. That was great.
are out of
Her name was
touch.
Melissa.
Oh my god.
But
I don't think she's underrated. I feel like people have known her talent for a long time. I think that's why she has clearly been so successful. She is above and beyond the rest of the Pussycat Dolls. She has been, judges on X Factors and other big reality shows. She's had her own solo career. But I think what the difference is now she's getting spotlighted outside of being labeled as the Pussycat Doll. She is now, a performer on Broadway. She's showing her musical talents. Like, I don't know, something about Broadway, I feel like changes the narrative about someone. They're not just like a singer, a pop star. Now they're like a performer, something, and I think that's what people are changing their tune about.
I've been hearing about this Sunset Boulevard like reboot since it's been on the West End first with Nicole Scherzinger, and it was already getting amazing reviews last year, and finally the transfer to Broadway, and people truly are freaking out about it. But it just shows you a lot of these people that there are super talented. You just have to see them in a different light. And to your point, Dax, is that Broadway kind of has this prestige to it, like the Great White Way. Like, oh my gosh, on Broadway, this person can really act, really sing. Rita Ora is out there somewhere going, get me on Sunset Boulevard. But yeah, like it shows them in a different light, and you automatically go, wow, this person can do everything. This person can do, they're not just some pop star with like 2 good songs, according to Adam. There's somebody that can do so much more. So it'll be really interesting to see what she's able to get from this, like what the next move after this is.
You know what it is, though? It's because Broadway, there's no voice editing, there's no auto-tune, there's no edits, you can't stop down. So you prove that you are the talent that you are because you don't have all the tricks of the trade that other people have when they're recording music or acting or whatever. Like, this is you, and you got to put it all out.
Well, I think Nicole is just lost the last 10 years. Nobody knew what to do with her the last 10 years. I mean, is she a judge? Is she a singer? Is she an actress? No one knew what she could do. And now that she's doing Sunset Boulevard, people are like, whoa. Obviously, she's very attractive, but then she's got talents behind it. She can also dance. She could sing. So is she going to go down the Idina Menzel route where she's just going to become that Broadway girl, and that's her, in which you could do very well doing Broadway, which Broadway – it can be lucrative. However, it is a lot of work to be doing.
So here's a question,
10 shows a week.
If you get a Tony Award, does that change her career? So if they
she's going to get the Tony. She's going to.
Yeah, I agree. I think she'll definitely get the Tony. But in terms of changing the career, it just really depends on the people behind her. Like you got to line up that right opportunity. But to Adam's point, what is that right opportunity? Is it more judging? Is it a lead on a Ryan Murphy show? Like what can they get her next?
She needs to go Lady Gaga route. And that is big acting roles, because that changes everything. I feel like Gaga, the second that she started landing her acting roles, I feel like that changed her trajectory.
So she needs a Star is Born. She needs a Star is Born kind of something like that. So, and by the way, I think she's a decent actor as well. Like, obviously she's doing it in Sunset Boulevard, but I've seen her other performances. She can act. So I think it's a really interesting time. I would love to be a part of the conversations that are being held by her team of like, which avenues can we go this way? Do we want to waste time going over here? Because time is of the essence with something like this. And I imagine she's guaranteed like at least a year with this production. Like they're probably advanced ticket sales for like 6 months. So when do you tap out of Sunset Boulevard and when do you go on to the next thing?
She's going to win the Tony. I'm saying that right now. I'm not going to say she might. No, she's going to win the Tony. Why? Is Broadway needs this. It's just as much as she does. This is a great PR. Broadway's been struggling. When's the last time you've heard about a Broadway show? When's the last time there's been an excitement about a Broadway show? Not
Hamilton,
since COVID.
That's the last one.
Yeah, Hamilton, which was this is pre-COVID. Ever since COVID,
Yeah.
Broadway's been hurting. So this has been a great bounce back for COVID. Not too many Broadway stars could go on Live with Kelly and to do a campaign after, not just before, and bring attention to the award show. So they need her to win. They could do for her.
They could do a movie. I mean, she could do a movie of Sunset Boulevard.
I mean, that's going to happen. That's probably in the works. You know, there's already the conversation of that because there's a built-in audience. I just hope they don't make it like West Side Story. That did you watch that by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, it's Spielberg film. I mean, it was great, but I don't think a lot of people saw it. You know,
no, I don't think there is the marketing behind West Side Story. You know,
I think also you're like, well. I saw the first one. Why do I need to go watch the second one? That's kind of you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not a musical guy anyway, so that's not.
Well, I kind of am. Yeah, not shocking to anybody out there, but when I was a kid, I saw the original Sunset Boulevard with Glenn Close, like when Glenn Close was doing the role that Nicole Scherzinger is doing now. And so it's like really different to go from Glenn Close to Nicole Scherzinger. It's a different vibe. So I can't wait to see what they do with this production.
Love it. Well, Ryan, we got to wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. I know, but let's not leave it for another year. I mean, come on, dude. Like that's what it comes down to. Is you
get me up at 7 a.m. and now we're just out. You just throw me aside. Like you, the Illuminati of podcasting, is throwing me aside. Great.
We just give you a little taste of us, so we leave you wanting more. Is really what it comes down to. But if you guys haven't listened to Ryan's podcast, make sure you do. Search up So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. He is deeply, deeply involved in all reality show television. He does recaps. He breaks down everything.
Oh, you can call it recaps. You can say recaps.
He recaps all over the place. But really, a great podcast. It's huge. It's on the Betches Network, and it is blowing up. You can also hear him on Jeff Lewis's show on Sirius. You're just kind of everywhere right now, buddy. I love it. I am so happy and excited for you.
I'm having my Nicole Scherzinger moment, or I'm trying to. I don't know where to go from here. Thank you guys for having me on. It's great to talk to you guys. And I love you guys and your podcast. And thank you.
No, Ryan, you rule. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, brother.
Yeah. By the way, Ryan, are you a part of our private Facebook group, Off the Record?
No, I'm not actually.
Maybe you should be. That's where all the cool people hang out. So go join our private Facebook group, Off the Record. For anyone else who would like to join, head over to HollywoodRaw.com. We have a link in there to our Facebook group, but you can also follow us on obviously all social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. Follow Adam at Adam Glyn. Follow me at Dax Holt. Ryan, where could they find you?
So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey.
Love it.
On Instagram.
We will
Ryan
see you guys
rules.
next week. Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.